You are now tuned into Story Time to Chill with Val and Seal. It's Story Time to Chill with Val and Seal. It's Story Time to Chill with Val and Seal. It's Story Time and Chill with Val and Seal. Here we go. Here we go.
Yes, we are ready.
Yes, we're ready. Happy Wednesday, everybody at home. Welcome to Storytime Chill with Val and Seal. I am one of your hosts, Miss Cecilia Seal Smith.
And I'm your other host, Valerie Johnson Reed.
We're so excited. We're
Yes, we
so excited to be
are.
here. We're
It's,
excited about our guest. He's waiting backstage, y'all. We're excited about our guest. But before
yes.
we get into the amazing author that we have tonight, just a quick announcement. We have much to be excited for, so much to be grateful for. Valerie Johnson Reed and I are hosting this Saturday on March 13th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Just Right Writing Boot Camp. Val, you want to tell them all the, awesomeness
Oh
they're going to
man,
get on Saturday?
it's just going to be so amazing. You will actually get a chance to start writing. We're going to have breakouts groups. We're going to break out in genres, fiction versus nonfiction, and we're going to have some one-on-one time with the people that log on. So please, please, please don't limit yourself. Please join us. Please sign up. It's on Eventbrite. Register and join us Saturday evening at 6 o'clock.
It's going to be great. And even if you are an aspiring author, meaning you've never written a book before, and you're wanting to get a fresh start or gain some knowledge on publishing your book, or even if you're a current author and you've been, dwelling and drowning in excuses of why you haven't got that next book started and done, come on the call. We're doing live writing sprints on the call, so you definitely do not want to miss it. All
Yes.
right. So
Yes.
let's get to why we're here. We have a special author that we're celebrating tonight, Mr. Gerren Rush, and he's going to be reading and telling us all about his amazing book, Wonderfully Weird. That sounds like it's describing me. So let's hear what this story is about. Let's bring him up, y'all.
And here he is.
Yes.
Welcome.
Oh, we're on mute, Gerren. Our viewers want to hear you. There we go.
All right. Like my
Hey,
kids doing virtual class.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Welcome, welcome,
Welcome to
welcome.
Storytime
Oh
Chill
man.
with Dallas Hill.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, guys. My name is Gerren Rush, and I am a teacher at a school called Mark Twain Elementary, a third grade teacher. I've been teaching about 12-ish years. Been in education for a long time. It's something I love to do. I love seeing kids grow and change. And honestly, growing up, my family will always help people. So this is one of the, just one of the paths that I've taken. I just love doing what I do, man, helping kids. That's it.
And we
Awesome.
salute you. We
Yeah,
salute you. Thank you for your service in the community and of course, the children's lives that you touch every day.
that's
Thank
right. We
you.
don't
Thank
take
you.
it for granted. We don't see a lot of males in our field, so we are happy and excited to see you
Yeah,
doing the work, and we know it's going to make an impact.
absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, we know that you're here to read your story, Wonderfully Weird. So without further delay, Garen Rush, take it away.
All right. Hey. Well, hey guys, this is my book, and my book is titled Wonderfully Weird, and I can't wait to read it to you. So here we go. And this book is dedicated to all the people who have been teased, made fun of, bullied, and made to feel weird. This book is dedicated to you, right? Now, any kids out there, if this is you, this book is dedicated to you. All right, let's see. Here we go. I'm John, and people call me weird because my skin isn't the same color as both of my parents. One is black, the other is white, and my skin is a mixture of both of theirs. See that? Yeah. I'm a regular person, but when people call me weird, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Do you think it's right for people to call me weird? And normally when I read this to my class or other kids, I normally talk to you guys. And normally I have the kids do like this, or normally I do this to the audience and they're like, no, no. So I'm gonna ask you, do you think, even though y'all kids, I know y'all listening, do you think it's right for people to call me weird? Good. Hi, I'm Gerren. This is my character. Some people call me weird because my lips are brown and not pink like theirs. Now I feel like everyone is looking at my lips. I can't change them. I'm Melissa, and some people call me weird because I'm double jointed. That means I can bend my arms and legs in ways that most people can't. People often look at me strange. Has anyone ever looked at you strange? Oh my goodness. I'm proud of who I am. I'm just a regular person, but do you think it's right for people to call me weird? Their looks and comments make me feel like something is wrong with me. But I'm a regular person with feelings just like you. Do you think it's right for people to call me weird too? Not at all. Hello, I'm Charmaine. I'm just a regular person like you. Some people look at my feet and call me weird because my feet are very what? Small. And you see, we drew her feet really small. This is a friend of mine too. When people call me weird, it makes me feel uncomfortable and sad. It doesn't feel good, but do you think it's right for people to call me weird? Huh? One more time. Yeah. I'm naughty. I'm just a regular person like you. But some people call me weird because my shoes and clothes aren't as new as theirs. Their teasing makes me feel bad. I hate when that happens. I'm not sure if you've ever been teased before, but again, do you think it's right? Do you think it's right for people to call me weird? Not at all. I'm Janelle. Because of the long dark scar on my face, so you don't know if you, there we go. You see that scar? Because of the long dark scar on my face, some people call me weird. I'm a regular person just like you. But when they stare and say negative words about me, it hurts my feelings. And you can tell they're whispering. That happens sometimes. Whispers and points. Their hurtful words make me cry. Do you think it's right for people to call me weird? No, not at all. It never is. Hello, I'm Nadia. I'm just a regular person like you. And some people call me weird because I wear a hijab, which is a headscarf that girls wear in my religion. Their teasing makes me feel lonely. Do you think it's right for people to call me weird? Look at her face, her expression. I'm Pansy. I'm just a regular person like you, but I have freckles. Some people call me weird because of my freckles. They say I have funny looking spots. on my face. I wish they knew that their giggles about me truly hurt and they embarrass me. Do you think it's right, again, for people to call me weird? Now, here's my solution. No two people are the same. How do you think it feels to be called weird? We're all created different, but different doesn't mean weird, everybody. We believe, Mr. Rush, as they call me at Mark Twain, believes that it means special. And each person you see, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your cousin, everyone on this call, we believe you are uniquely special. And as you spend your night tonight before bed or even tomorrow, think about what are some of the things that make you uniquely special, right? Awesome. Well, that's the end of my book. And I want to tell y'all a little bit about it right quick. Let me read this last little part. Wonderfully Weird is a book teaching children and all of us to accept and celebrate our differences. So once again, I want you to accept and celebrate what makes you special, because you are special, right? Awesome. Let's see. We got any questions? Come on in.
Hey!
Oh, we loved it.
Hey!
Yes. Awesome. Awesome.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
We could just tell that you're a teacher just by the way you read it and you asked questions. So yes, wonderful. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what is the inspiration behind Wonderfully Weird? Tell us about that.
Well, I got a few things I could say towards that, but the main thing is that one day a student came up to me and said, "Mr. Rush, you look weird because your lips are brown." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Wait, what?"
Wow.
And of course, I was an adult, so my first reaction, honestly, was like, you talking to me?"
Yeah.
So then after a while, I began to think about like when I was a kid growing up and kids make fun of my nose or my skin or my hair. And then like I literally went to the nearest adult restroom and I began to look at myself in the mirror. I was like what makes them say that? So after that process, I began to think, well, if I was a kid her age, how would I have responded? And I think that's where the birth of the idea of this book truly came from. And I knew like then I was like, man, I don't want anyone else to feel this uncomfortable feeling I feel as an adult from a
Yeah.
kid asking me that question. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, dude, I gotta help. Now, if you follow me on Facebook, social media, anything, and you know my parents, anybody out there listening know the Rush family and know my parents who are pastors, like we're always helping people. So I could not let this moment go by without creating something.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, my next question is, what inspired you to become an author? Is Wonderfully Weird your first book?
It is. It's my first book.
Yay!
Yeah.
Congrats.
It's about 4 years ago, and then I have the Spanish version. I produced the Spanish version, and the follow up to that was because I knew I wanted to move my daughter into a dual language program, and then my daughter not seeing a lot of people who look like her. It made me want to write something or continue in another language that can encourage someone like her. And so that was the inspiration to keep going. But this is my first book, and I'm working something on something else about fatherhood next. Hence,
Okay, because I saw fatherhood on your website, and I was just like, okay, is
yeah,
that what he's doing?
yeah,
This
that's
first
gonna be my
was
next
that
step.
that's what you're working on? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
But wait, Val, can we just pause here?
Yes,
Read your shirt. Read your shirt because
Read my shirt.
it's powerful.
yes.
Fathers lead, fathers learn, fathers love, fathers listen, fathers leave a legacy.
That's awesome.
My
Love it.
dad,
Come
actually, I got to give a shout
on.
out to my father. Really, my dad came up with this concept, and I had to put it on the shirt. I was like, "That's a
That's
shirt.
awesome.
That
That
is
is
a
a shirt.
Man,
That
yes."
I
is
need
a
the
shirt.
shirt. Mr.
Hey,
Rush. Mr. Rush, the other
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Rush. We need the shirts.
Yes,
I
that
got
is so
you. I got
needed.
you.
That
I
that
got
is
you.
a
I
message
got
that needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Because there are fathers that are doing the thing, that are
you.
doing
Yeah,
it. So yes,
yeah, I got you.
definitely that the message needs to be spread. Yes, it does. Wow. That's really cool. That is really cool. Now, I want to ask you, what has been the most rewarding part of being an author so far? Because you're gonna do a lot
Mm.
more. But what has been one of the most rewarding things that you've encountered after writing this book and going around and reading it? What has been rewarding about it to you?
It's been a few. It's been a few, and I would say the reward changes as time goes on. So like when I first made the book, like when like the first couple sales, I'm like, what? Like y'all want to buy this? Like when you see you bring something to life, bring a baby to life, a concept to life, and then people invest in that concept. That was one. And before I actually made the first book, I did a GoFundMe. I was just like, I'm just gonna do it, and I raised more than what I intended. That was another like encouraging moment. And then when I went overseas to like Trinidad and Jamaica to do ministry, I sold a lot of books over there too. And then that, like I said, that was like there's so many different layers um, to that feeling because it changes as you grow as a person and as
Mhm.
time moves on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so
You know
true.
what? Can I add one last thing?
Absolutely. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
And I would say now where I am today, when my kids say, my students are like, "Hey, Mr. Rush, I want to write a book,"
Yeah.
and they come back and they got like a book on like folded paper,
Yeah.
like Mr. Rush,
Yes,
look what I did. I'm like,
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah,
very
it changes. It
inspiring.
changes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's very rewarding. That
yeah,
is because kids want to know, and I think a lot of times, and I think Seal can attest to this too.
Hmm.
We've talked about this before. Children want it's like when they find out that you've written a book, authored a book, they are like, "Oh my gosh, are you famous?" That's the first thing
yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
"Famous?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I am.
I am. I'm
I am.
famous.
I am.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
famous. I'm
They're like,
famous,
well, what are you doing here? I'm
I
like,
man.
know,
now hold on, I'm trying to help you. Yeah, but a lot of times I think even when my kids, because I teach seventh grade, so middle school, a lot of them that do love writing and reading or want to be authors in the future, it seems like a distant dream until they
Yes,
find someone who actually
yes,
has done it. Like I actually know someone, my teacher is an author. Like this can be done. It brings that dream a little closer
yes.
to home. So
It
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it
yeah.
does. It really does. So let me ask you this question: from
Mhm.
because you are an educator, tell us from a teacher's perspective, what advice would you give parents about reading and just
Ooh.
the
Yeah.
pleasure and the joy of reading? Because a lot of times we encounter parents that don't know what to do and how to
Yeah.
encourage the child to read. What would be
Hmm.
your advice from a teacher's perspective?
From a teacher's perspective on reading.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right, so I would say so. I've taught first grade, second grade. Now I'm teaching third grade. I have I generally teach. I have a special ed certification, And I used to work with primarily special ed when I first began as a paraprofessional. And so I would say um, one thing is that is I'll never forget this. This is before I had kids. I used to ask some of my coworkers who I really looked up to. And I began to ask some of the best students that I've had that could read very well. I used to ask their parents, well, what did you guys do to help your kid get to
Mhm.
this level? And the
Mhm.
common theme I heard was that we started reading in the beginning. And I was
Mhm.
like, huh? No, it was like, you don't understand. When they're like first born, like we're reading. Then my dad added to that. He's like, son, actually, before you were born, we used to read and talk to you and sing to you, music to you. And so, when you begin to think about it like that, the once there's life, you have to invest in that life. You know,
Yes.
Absolutely.
before the life is even born. So you have to invest in that time, and then when they get here, you just continue that. So I got pictures of my when Zoe first came from the hospital. Like I have a book open reading to her, and that's never stopped. And actually, to see her sit down, she's only in first grade reading chapter books on her own, and in dual language. And my son is trying to copy her read, and he's only 4, about to be
Yeah.
in dual language. So like the cycle continues, and then
Right.
once you invest, and then like it's like the family follows, like everyone begins to move that direction and want to be a part, like the next person. And then finally,
Mhm.
I would say when you have kids, kids need to see you do what you want them to do. So
Mhm.
if I want them to read, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really like to read. I really don't like me, like for real. Because
Yeah.
I'm creative. Like I want to create something with
Mhm.
Mhm.
quality, like videos and different things like that. Like I just created the Black History program for our school, and through all like basically virtually to play it on Friday, like this week. And so like that's where I would rather put my attention. But I know my kids need to see me read. So daddy at
Yeah.
home, I gotta get a book.
Yeah.
I gotta stop.
Yeah.
I gotta is literally stop and read
Yeah.
so that they can do the exact same, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. That common, I think is to me now hearing it back, is a very toxic statement that we overuse. Is do as I say, not as I do. No, kids are going to do as you do,
As
not
you
just
do.
what you say. Okay,
That's
you
right.
have to
That's
be
right.
the example
Yeah.
because they might say, okay, I want to do it, but they see you doing it, so it's like
Yeah.
they're curious to want
They're
to do
going to
it
do it.
too. So
Yeah.
make sure you're doing these positive things and instilling these positive routines and habits because they're eventually going to want to do it too. So
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely.
true. So true. So now, from a parent's perspective or point of view, what would you tell, coming from a parent, being a parent in a parent's role, what would you tell other parents, or what would you tell other parents about reading? Would you tell
Other
them something different, or would you tell them the same thing?
Now I want you to elaborate. When you say other parents, what do you mean?
Well, what I meant was, would you tell them? Well, when I said parents. I meant parents in general. Would you tell them the same thing you just told from a teacher's perspective, or would you tell it from a different perspective, being a parent?
Oh, absolutely. No, I would tell them the exact same thing. Why? Is because I'm living it. Like I'm really
Mhm.
living what I'm saying. I'm preaching what I'm saying. Uh, the investment that I have in my children, I tutor, like even before I got on with you guys, I
Yeah.
was tutoring other kids in my school
Yeah.
going through the same thing with their parents, spending time going through games, creating an environment of learning through games, video, my excitement, me reading,
Mhm.
a docking camera right here, trying to explain things to
Mhm.
them in a creative, fun way. Sometimes I have to bring my book in and some of the things that I have all around me to
Yeah.
explain in a creative way. So once again, the example never stops, but as kids grow And especially if you're listening out there and your kid might struggle in reading or math or something, we just have to be more creative a lot of
Mhm.
times and learn from others. But once again, the example never stops.
Yeah.
The
Right.
example never
Never
stops.
stops.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, now, Val, I actually want to ask you and Gerren, because we all are educators,
Uh-huh.
and have different experiences in our different in districts. But do you find that students resist reading more when you try to introduce reading later in life?
That students resist.
Yeah.
Resist meaning, okay, so maybe they don't read at home. Like for you introduced it to your daughter before she was even born, right? So now, okay, you have this seventh grade, this eighth grade student, and you're
Uh-huh.
that teacher that's trying to push like the importance of reading or trying to make it fun. Do you often find that the pushback is a little bit more heavy in those ages if they've never experienced reading in those early years at home?
All right. Is this me and Val, or Val, you want me to go first?
You can go first
Oh,
and then I'll
yeah.
get
I
go
like that.
first. You're our guest. You go first.
Yeah, look.
Val's
Hot
like,
potato.
you say first.
I can go first, but
Yeah.
because I'm middle school, if you want me to go first, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
From
Go
a
ahead.
middle school perspective, I teach sixth graders,
Mhm.
and before that, I taught fifth graders, and it is very it's harder. I feel like it's harder to encourage them only because they're at a point where they don't like to read, and now you're having to encourage them to, okay, so now I'm encouraging them from the perspective of, well, what do you like? And it's not so much they have a joy for reading, it's more so, okay, well, I like football. Okay, well, let's find you some books about football. Well, what I found is a lot of kids, even with that love for football, they don't necessarily want to read a book about it. They rather watch it, or they rather, visualize it. But so for me, from my perspective, it is a little more challenging. It can
Mhm.
be done, but I
Yeah,
think it really is a little more challenging than if a child has a love for reading from when before they've been born.
an early age. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that, and I would say the early ages are critical. They're critical for fostering an environment of learning that's nonstop. So my kids, they take books in the car with them. My daughter doesn't know not doing work at home. She has to do about 30 minutes of work with daddy. Like, I'm not even talking about like schoolwork. I'm talking about daddy's
Yeah.
work. That's supposed to be more challenging than schoolwork. So
Right.
that's what she knows. So to those that are listening, I would say, once again, foster the environment, and it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
I've learned, I remember when I used to train, like we used to potty train and anything like that. With most kids, you need about 4 days of the same behavior, and then they will expect it. They will start to expect it. And that's for all kids, even if
Hmm.
they're sixth grade, seventh grade. But about
Right.
4 days of the same thing. If you bring them a
Hmm.
nice dinner every night, that fifth day, I'm like, hey,
Where
Yeah.
my dinner?
That's right. Where is it? That's right.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I agree with Val that it can be harder. But once again, I think because I used to work at Lord, I used to work at Sam Houston High School for a while.
Mhm.
That was tough. But when I worked there tutoring high schoolers, it almost felt like they were set in their ways. But this was
Mhm.
before I grew in my teaching. And
Hmm.
so for most kids, it is what you love, but I think it's establishing the purpose for reading
Yes.
that you have to find. So it's not just, hey, what do you like? Oh, you like football, read this book. But more
Right.
specifically, to build on that, it's like if you read this, you can now go into the mind of that basketball player or
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, that football player. You can go into mind of how they're thinking, how they game plan. Watch this to make you better in your craft.
Hmm.
So you have
Right.
to always connect it back to them so
Connected
they
back to
see
them.
why do
Hmm.
you want me to just read this book? So I don't know.
Absolutely. I love that. So many gems from a
Yes.
parent teacher perspective and just from just the love from people and seeing them evolve and grow perspective as well. So that's good. Hmm.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so. That is very true. And so I would ask you. I
Mhm.
know we asked you what inspired you, what has inspired you, but what has surprised you about being an author? Is there been anything that
Mm.
totally blew your mind, or totally you weren't expecting it at all?
Um, I'll say what surprised me is probably the places that I've been and the opportunities that I've had because I took a leap of faith and I did
Mm.
out of my comfort zone.
Mm,
So that's why on my site, I'm out GerrenRush.com. I'm always selling shirts like "Fake It with Fear," things like that. Or during my speaking engagements, I'm always talking about that because truly, like I've had to live that.
Yeah.
You have to grow. Like I grew from being really quiet and not wanting to talk, not like I say being really comfortable with reading, but as time moves on and you grow and you work on your fears and your doubts, what you find is that opportunities open up, and as a door opens, you walk through that
Mhm.
door, then another door, then you start looking back like, man, look how far I came. Like,
Mhm.
wow. So for me, it's because um, like I said, looking back at the doors that I walked through, and I'm often tell myself, like, man, I should have started earlier. What are the doors that I missed? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
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 it's like,
yeah,
dang it.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This
That's
is true. We
very.
talk about this all the
Yeah, I
time.
was gonna say this is a popular topic for us. We talk
Yeah,
about this all the time.
and it
Obedience.
hurts thinking back. It hurts. It hurts. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But God has His timing. His timing is perfect. So
yeah,
yeah.
it does.
we
It
we
does.
fall in line with that with that.
Yes,
So let me
absolutely.
ask you this: do you have a favorite book or a favorite author? If so, who is your favorite author, or what is your favorite book?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. That's weird. I really
Okay.
can't even tell you. I will say because most of my reading is like kids' books, which is
Okay.
Hmm.
class and breaking down novels and things like that. So,
Yeah.
um, this might not be a great response, but recently I read with my class a book called Poppy about a mouse who saves her family.
Okay.
And then I was able, the kids really loved, and I love uh, just the challenges the character went through. There was some like character challenge, like character within self and internal conflict. There was a
Conflict.
battle between an owl who's trying to destroy her and stop her from reaching where all the answer that can save her family. And so there were so many layers to it. And eventually it was a triumph of good versus evil. And my kids, man, this is what did it for me. My kids, like after reading this book, and I told them before we started, I was like, y'all, this is the best book. Like I said, Mr. Rustin was not a reader. I love to read now because of this book. And so once we finished this book and we did like we dissected owl pellets and all this kind of crazy stuff, the kids were like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Rustin is the best book ever." I love it. And so for me as a teacher, that's what I like to see the
Hmm.
excitement that they get uh, from me being excited
Yeah.
and uh, and spending time in a book and learning with them. And so I think that's probably one of the coolest things about teaching. Most people don't know is I don't go in knowing I know everything. The kids actually like some of them go home do some research on stuff and they come back
Hmm.
and say stuff and I'm like I didn't know that.
That's
That was a
that's
good
so
point. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Y'all are older kids, so we
I
have
like
good
that.
dialogue, really good
yes,
dialogue.
yes.
Hmm. Yeah. I
That's
love
very.
it.
I do too.
Yes.
So, a few more questions. So then my next question would be, what advice would you give an aspiring author, whether it's a child who wants to write books or be an author, or it's an adult? What advice would you give them?
Um, Probably a couple things. I would say one is the advice someone gave me, and uh, One of my former students, uh, her mom or his mom is her name is Brene Brown. She's a well-known speaker. And Miss Brown, I just remember, y'all. I'm telling y'all, my book was like a few sheets of paper, and I went to her house, and I was like, "Can I, can I, excuse me, can I share my book, my concept with you?" And she was like, "Sure." So I go in, share my book with her, and she was like, "I like the concept, but what's stopping you?" And I was like, "Well, like I'm not really that great of a reader or writer. I don't really know how to create a book. I'm saying all these different things." And she was like, "Well, Gerren," she was like, "Honestly, if you look at my, if if you look at the walls in my room, right? If they were, if you look at the walls in the room, the walls would be covered with the amount of no's that I received." She
Mm,
said, I received so many no's of your book is not ready. This needs to happen. We got to fix this. We got to work on this. I don't know if people will buy that." And
Yeah.
she's like, if if I would have stopped there, I would have missed the opportunity of reaching so many different people. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, I know God has his timing, but at the same time, I do believe that when you delay, you know, we can miss the opportunity to really impact someone's life.
yeah,
And rather than just going in faith in a direction and letting God use us, sometimes uh, that fear holds us back. And yeah, we'll help people, but what if? What about
Yeah.
the more? What about the others? So that we could have impacted. And so I'm always thinking about that when I'm working on a new project. If I delay, not delay in terms of
yeah.
excellence and quality, but if I
Yeah.
delay,
The time.
who am I missing to help?
Yeah,
You know.
Mhm. Yep.
that's very good. That's a
Yep.
conversation we have all the time. So
All right,
yes,
sorry,
I think we
my dad's
just had one on
I
Monday.
was gonna say we just
Yeah.
had this conversation. Yes,
like,
Yeah.
sorry, my
Yeah.
dad's a pastor, so I felt like I was going, I was
We
doing
love
things,
it.
I was
we
going,
is
I was,
we receive
Yeah.
that. We receive it. Our
Yeah.
viewers do too, because that's really on
Yeah.
time, right on
You're
time.
speaking to somebody right now, like in our
That's right.
audience. As
yeah,
you're speaking to
That's right.
yourself and speaking through your experience, you're speaking to a lot of people right now who are,
That's right.
even if they're not authors, they're delaying
They need to
the
hear that.
possibilities.
Yes, we all need
Yeah.
to hear it. We all need to hear it. All right. So, Garen, you are a husband, a father, author, speaker,
Mhm.
all of these things. How do you balance your time?
I don't know. Um, I don't know. I do not know.
How do
Um,
you do it?
how do I balance my time?
How do
Well,
you do all that you do?
I, as I told you earlier, I was just tutoring before I got on here. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I would say, in terms of balance time, I think it's always about what matters most. And so for me, there and there are opportunities to do more and to make more money. There's opportunities to take me out of teaching and once again make more money, to speak sometimes at other places and get and become more known and make more money. But what I find is that right now, like my heart is in my kids. Like truly, like that's my own too. And I feel an obligation to stay there. I feel an obligation to be in the moment more and and maintain a job that gives me the freedom to invest in their lives. Because they've grown so quickly. You know how kids grow. Kids grow
Yeah.
so quickly, and they'll
Yeah.
be like I tell my students in my class, if y'all double your years, you'll be an adult. Like that's crazy to me. Like my daughter, if I double her years, she'll be nearly 16. So like
Yeah.
time has gone, like it's
That's
gone.
right.
I
That's
don't want
right.
to miss it. I don't want to miss the investment. And it's
Mm,
not that I can't do more. I've had opportunities, but I'm being transparent with you guys. I'm actually
Yeah.
scared to do a little bit more because I don't want to miss the investment, the extra this that my daughter needs, the extra
Yeah.
confidence my son needs, the extra hug or one-on-one or putting them to
Mhm.
bed that they need. Like once I get off of here, they're already in bed at nap time. They're going to sleep. But
Yeah.
when I get up here, I gotta go. Dad, will you pray for me? Dad, will you give me a kiss
Yeah.
before bed? They have to see this every day. Like I said earlier, the example. Like I gotta be
Mhm.
the example. So I rather invest
Yeah.
in them because they're my blood. I rather invest in them
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions I have. Seal, did you have any more questions for our guest tonight?
Yeah, I actually wanted to dive into the message of the book. So wonderfully weird, right? Wonderfully weird. Um, we know the power of words. We know the power of words. We've all had those experiences. Like I said, Val and I, it's not ever a time when we're not talking, even when we're working, we're talking. But we're always
Mm-hmm.
talking about these things and our various experiences. And no matter what generation you've grown up in, someone has said some hurtful things to
Mm-hmm.
you, as whether it's a child, teenager, whatever it may have you. So my question for you, Gerren, what advice would you give to a child that is experiencing not seeing the beauty in being unique, but they're actually absorbing those negative or hurtful words from their peers? What advice would you give them on handling these types of situations?
Mm, I would say first, I would say um, you're beautiful just the way God made you. I want to start off with that, and like truly, honestly, don't forget that. Like truly, honestly. I say I say that because this to anybody's listening. As I've gotten older and I do certain projects and things, there are people that criticize me by how I look. I've had that as an adult. They
Mhm.
criticize what I create. Kind of like what Brene Brown was saying. Like, there's always going to be someone who finds
Mhm.
fault in something that you do, even when you push and do it in a loving, compassionate way. There can always be one. And I used to be the one who would get a like I wanted to be perfect in everyone's eyes. I didn't want you to have an issue with me. Like I don't talk
Yeah.
about nobody. I do my job and go home. But what I find is that no matter what, I mean, I remember my dad said, son, be confident in who you are. And so I would encourage that person to try to gain that confidence. Be around people that can encourage you, that can motivate you. Be around, find someone uh, uh, who's stronger at your greatest weakness.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and that's in business. That's what I try to do in business. My entrepreneurship friends, they're doing greater things in my eyes than I am, and that's encouraging me to want to do more. But at the
Right.
same time, I'm like, ugh, for my family right now.
Mhm.
You, but at least my confidence is there. And so, to that person, make sure you position yourself with friends who can build you up when you're down. Because most of us get down at some point.
Yeah.
All need that person we can call, that we can reach out to, that
Mhm.
we can connect with, especially if family's not there. Someone that
Yeah.
you can trust that can be there with you. That's what I would say. Once
Absolutely.
again, beautiful, just the
Yeah.
way God made
I love it.
Mm,
Everyone needed to hear that.
that's right.
Even the adults that still have that inner childhood trauma within them. And
Yes.
the thing is, I think we all of course started out loving ourselves until someone taught us how to hate things about ourselves.
Yeah,
So definitely, like Gerren is saying, yeah, your support system is everything. And just truly seeing yourself, I think, in just in the image that God sees you, not the
Yeah.
world. Because we already know we got some
yeah.
haters out there. We
Right.
already know
Right.
that. We know that to be true.
That's right.
But yes, Gerren, I mean, I'm excited for everything that you're already doing. And I know that you are working on more, whether that's as a father, as a speaker, as an author, as an educator. How can we, one, stay connected with you? What's your preferred social media? And just repeat your website name, and then let us know a little bit about what's next for Mr. Gerren Rush.
All right. Well, uh, you can find me at. I feel like that's so weird, that line. You can find me at my website,
Uh-huh.
GerrenRush.com. Part of me wants to be like, hey, like, here's my cell number, y'all. You just, uh, but
Right.
it's just my name on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. It's pretty much the same. Some of
Mhm.
the things that I recently did. Last year, I did a fatherhood series that was really powerful. It got
Mm.
more traction on social media more so than it did like YouTube. But it was a big series where I interviewed fathers and asked them questions about fatherhood. It was about a
Yeah.
7 to 8 part series I did. And then the mothers inquired about it. So then I did a motherhood series and I interviewed my dad and my father-in-law in the fatherhood series and a lot of good friends that had some great insight on being a father. And it's some powerful stuff. I mean, men were crying in that one. Like that was a serious
Oof.
yeah, even my dad, that was a serious moment. And then my mom,
Mhm.
I interviewed her, and I was able to learn things about my grandfather who I didn't really meet, and
Mhm.
her talk about motherhood and how she and my father raised us and protected us and what they wanted to instill in us. And so that was powerful hearing that. And then this summer, I did a series called A Cry for Help. That's a response to the
Mhm.
George Floyd situation. That got a lot of traction too. A lot of people enjoyed that. That was a 3 part series where I began talking about my my challenges I've had with the law, and I was trying to figure out how should I say because I know kids might be watching. But my challenges then, I began to at the end of it interview people on how they had their cry for help and how did
Mm.
how they felt when people reached out to them, and it's all races of people. And then at the end, we all had a panel discussion about where do we go from here as a people and as believers and that kind of thing. So that was that,
Yeah.
and hopefully, what are we in March? The school year is going
Mhm.
Yeah.
fast. Hopefully, at the end of this year, maybe I could have a book about fatherhood and share that. It might be a little different audience than the small kids, but yeah, hopefully I can. That'll be the next big thing for me.
Absolutely. Well, we celebrate you for so
Yes.
many things, Darren, and just for us being a conversation starter. Okay, and Storytime Chill with Balanced. These conversations are just very important. And our hope is always that our viewers take the gems and the wisdom and the our hearts that we leave on this show, and then start to have these same conversations
Yes.
within their own homes, or start to reevaluate, well, how can I implement this, or how can I reflect on that. And so we just appreciate your transparency and just letting us feel like I know your family, because that's just how yeah, like yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate that for sure. And I
Like,
know Val wants to shower you with some praises, so I'm listening too.
Well, we thank you so much for being here, Garen Rush. We know that we don't take your time because we know you're a busy person, but we don't take your time for granted. We know that you're an educator, you're a speaker, you're a father, you're all these things, but yet and still you made the time to be on Storytime Chill with Balance Seal. So we salute you for that. Um, Thank you for showing us the enthusiasm and excitement in reading, but also showing us how it is okay to be different. I wrote down a few different things that you said. You said we're all created different, but different doesn't mean weird. And so, thank you for sharing that, because so many times when we hear the word weird, you know, well, what makes it, what we don't understand what makes it weird. So, I thank you for using the choice of words different, because different does not mean weird. We are uniquely special. I heard you say that. So,
yeah,
And I also heard you give the examples of the child that comes from interracial, has interracial parents. The child
Mhm.
that has the facial features, the scar, the lips, the double jointedness, the small feet, the clothes that are not new, the religion, the
Mhm.
freckles, all those things that quote unquote make us weird. They don't make us weird, they make us different. And I love the fact that your story celebrates being different.
Mhm. Yeah.
So our students, our children, our community, our society, we're privileged to have such a person like you to share that message that says that it is okay to be different. Because in so
Mhm.
many times in the society that we live in today, we're encouraged to look a certain way, and if you don't look like this, you can't have that. So we appreciate that message that you're sending out to not only the boys and girls, but also to parents. Parents need to hear
Mhm.
that too, because so many times as parents, we feel the pressures of, oh, I need to get myself this or get my child this, because we tend to at sometimes want to fit in, but it's not necessarily that you always have to fit in. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be
Absolutely.
Yeah.
different. So we appreciate you being
Yes.
on Storytime Chill with Balance here tonight. Thank you for sharing your story, Wonderfully Weird. And thank you for giving our students the encouragement to read and to continue to learn and grow. And thank you just for being transparent with us about fatherhood as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for the opportunity. Y'all are doing an amazing thing. And hey, I hope y'all get tons of viewerships, sponsorships. I just pray all the blessings continue to come you guys' way. So
We
thank you
received
guys.
it.
So, hey, look.
We received
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. I'm just so appreciative again, like Val said, we are both just so just just so full. And just to know that there are amazing people, amazing black fathers, and
yes,
just amazing, just amazingness out here in this
yes,
world representing for
yes,
black men. And again, like having these hard to have conversations, but they're so necessary. So we appreciate you. We look forward to following and supporting your journey.
yes,
Definitely, viewers at home, make sure that you stay connected with Gerren Rush on all social media, Gerren Rush, GerrenRush.com. And then also just check out his YouTube and those series,
yes.
Fatherhood, Cries
I'm
for
here
Help,
for that.
Motherhood. Like, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to spring
I am
breaks next
too.
week. I'm going to be feeding my mind and feeding my spirit with
Yes,
those videos and those series. So we appreciate you for that as well. And Gerren, make sure you message me so I can buy this shirt and I want a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
yes,
make sure you give me that information on how I can support and get
I got
those
you.
over
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
yes. So definitely let us know when you come out with the next book. We're going to have you back. We're going to make it work. Whatever the book is about, you always welcome here. Storytime
Yeah,
Chill with Balance Seal.
that's
You're our
right.
honorary brother author, so we appreciate you.
That's right. Thank you.
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, y'all
You're
are amazing.
welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So we are going to close out, everybody at home. Just make sure here. I know even if tomorrow you go back and look at the comments here, but everyone is definitely just showing you some love, and they're looking forward to supporting your book and getting it for their little ones as well. So as we close out the theme song, make sure you guys continue to just go forth. Don't delay. Don't deny yourself
Don't
these
delay.
opportunities that
That's
God,
right.
hey, if God planted it, go ahead and water it and move forward. Okay. So have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, everybody. And you know what time it is. You are now tuned in to with Val and Seal. It's story time chill with Val and Seal. It's story time chill with Val and Seal. It's story time and chill with Val and Seal. Bye, everyone. Good
Good
night.
night.